Meet the Institute Infiltrator, an individual who learned too late that taking the patient route and following the rules rarely leads to victory. The starting special stats for this build are 3 strength, 4 perception, 7 endurance, 1 charisma, 9 intelligence, 4 agility and 1 luck. This does include the special book in Sanctuary, and don't forget to pick up bobbleheads whenever you can. A high intelligence will mean you earn experience points quite quickly, helping you to level faster and get all the perks you'll need. The major perks for this build are Armourer, Commando and Science. Commando is the damage perk, doubling the overall damage output of our weapon, as well as coming with a couple of side benefits such as improved hipfire accuracy and a small chance to stagger with every shot. Armourer is the first of our crafting perks, and with it we can turn our outfit into something that can actually keep us alive in open combat. The big crafting perk of the build is Science. While this is primarily here to unlock all the mods for our weapon, it will also have some other secondary crafting bonuses when it comes to building things, be they settlements or robots. I've got quite a lot of minor perks with this build, and they are Adamantium Skeleton, Hacker, Locksmith, Life Giver, Nerd Rage, Nuclear Physicist, Robotics Expert, Scrapper and Sneak. Adamantium Skeleton is pretty straightforward, eliminating any chance of getting crippled with max rank. Will cost a few perk points, but never having to worry about crippled limbs is a nice boon to have. Hacker allows you to hack into terminals around the Commonwealth. I did consider making this a role-playing perk instead of minor, but honestly, it's good enough to pick up just as standard, and can come in handy for a fair few quests. Locksmith is something similar, this time allowing you to pick any locks you come across. For my money, this perk is better than Hacker, as there just seem to be more locks than there are terminals to hack, so if you're going to prioritise one over the other, then go for Locksmith first. Life Giver is up next, and happens to be one of my favourite perks. This is because it can get you health regen fairly early on, while also providing more hit points. Honestly, in Anniversary Edition this effect isn't quite as rare or tricky to get a hold of anymore, so maybe not as good as it once was, but still a solid perk. Nerd Rage is up next, serving as a bit of a safety net. This makes it so that you gain damage resistance, bonus damage, and a slow time effect when your health drops down low enough. Obviously you don't want to be at low health, but this perk makes it so you have better odds of survival when this does happen. Nuclear Physicist is up next, which should reduce how quickly we burn through fusion cores. Our weapon uses fusion cores as ammo, so anything to help with them not using up so quickly is going to be worth it. I would have gone with Scrounger, but apparently fusion cores aren't included in the list of ammo that helps with, though the refill effect at the final rank could come in handy. Onto Robotics Expert, which helps with building robots. You only need 2 ranks in order to unlock all the good mods at the robot workbench, and you shouldn't go any further than this. This is because rank 2 of Robotics Expert comes with a damage bonus effect against robots and synths, which the other ranks don't have. Penultimate of the minor perks is Scrapper. This build requires a lot of junk. Between improving the weapon, reinforcing armour, constructing robots, and engaging with any settlement building you fancy, there's going to be a whole lot of junk being spent while playing. Final minor perk is Sneak. While this isn't technically a stealth build, and this is more of a role-playing focus perk, it was once again just too good to not bump up to the minor category. Obviously, being extra sneaky is the primary effect of the perk, but eliminating the need to worry about floor-based traps and mines is arguably the best benefit you'll be getting from investing points here. With so many minor perks, I only had a single role-playing perk, Pickpocket. With the Pickpocket perk, you have an easier chance pilfering through the pockets of any wastelanders you come across. I personally don't like the pickpocket system in Fallout, so much so that I made my own system in a video a while back, but as a role-playing perk, I liked the idea of this, as it harks back to the pre-war times when the Infiltrator had to steal items in order to achieve their goal. The primary weapon for this build is the Ion Gun. This is essentially a Gatling laser with a few changes. The fire rate is about half of that of a standard Gatling laser, but with higher damage. The damage isn't as high as a charging barrel modded Gatling laser, but it fires a fair bit faster than that mod would. Essentially this makes it a nice midway point between both variants of Gatling laser, but with a few added bonuses. Thanks to the Quantum Taser attachment, you have a chance to stun. Tie this in with Commando's stagger ability, and enemies will have a hard time fighting back against you. Best thing about this gun though, is that there's no charge up time. This makes it substantially stronger than you might expect, as the biggest downside to a Gatling laser is the spin-up time, whereas this weapon just lets you start shooting instantly. It's also insanely accurate when manually firing, which makes it better over range than basically any other automatic weapon. If you're not playing on Anniversary Edition or just want a backup weapon, then I would recommend picking up the Prototype UP77, also known as Limitless Potential, which can be found hidden away at University Point. This is very comparable to the Ion Gun, albeit with a chunk less damage and mildly nerfed fire rate. On the upside though, this weapon uses fusion cells rather than fusion cores, making it an easier weapon to keep topped up, and you never need to reload thanks to the legendary effect, meaning you can hold down the trigger for as long as you have fusion spells to spare. Onto the armour now, starting with the Armoured Institute Renegade outfit. This can be found inside of Neon Flats at Goodneighbor and comes with a base 50 points of damage resistance and a bonus point of perception. What really matters though is the look of the piece, along with it being ballistic weave compatible. As the perception boost isn't integral to the character, you can switch this for any other ballistic weave outfit you prefer, especially if you only have base game options. Alongside this, I also had an armoured newsboy cap, which basically doubles our resistances, and some eyeglasses, which give some more perception, but are really just here for the look. And finally, I did have the modular military backpack with institute patches and medic gear. Overall, I was trying to strike a bit of a balance with the look of the build, making them dress in a way that fits with the institute, but then with a couple of small changes to show they don't really quite fit in there. The main faction for this build is the Railroad. While the Railroad are who you will ultimately be siding with, and the faction you're loyal to, you're actually going to want to spend just as much time with the Institute. This character is focused on infiltrating the Institute, getting deep into their ranks and learning everything they can in order to take them down. In order to do this, they'll need to do a lot of Institute quests, though as a Railroad build, you can feel free to do these in unorthodox or unhelpful ways. Really lean into malicious compliance, doing what you've been told, but attempting to make things worse for your bosses at the same time. Do make sure you switch to open allegiance with the Railroad at the very end, and feel free to loudly betray the Institute when the time comes. But early on, you'll want to work with the Railroad in secret, while appearing to be an Institute agent. The follower for this build is Codsworth. There are some backstory reasons for this, but the main gameplay reason is that he's the one robot follower who you can get their companion perk and still enhance them at a robot workbench. Ada doesn't come with a perk, and Curie's perk can only be unlocked when she loses her robot body, but by sticking with Codsworth you can get the best of both worlds, having an enhanced and upgraded follower while still travelling with someone who will react to the way you play. I tried to keep Codsworth looking pretty similar to his pre-war variant while playing, as I wanted to keep the same sort of look going with him, but you can by all means modify him heavily. Feel free to turn him into a full-blown Assaultron or Sentry Bot if you prefer to just have an out-and-out killing machine, though do remember that this build is meant to have some stealth and social stealth elements, and a Sentry Bot following you around could break the immersion there. This is a split playstyle sort of character. In combat, you're a crazy high DPS build with amazing accuracy even at long range. This makes killing anything at all pretty easy. Just hold down the trigger and watch health bars disintegrate. You also have high endurance and a fair bit of damage and energy resistance, so you can survive in open combat for a while, though not forever. Don't just stand in the middle of a firefight and expect to stay alive. Try to stick to cover and heal up regularly so as to not get caught out, though you do at least have Nerd Rage as a safety net to fall back on. You do also have some stealth capabilities, though without a suppressor on your weapon you can't play as a pure stealth build. That doesn't mean you can't benefit from stealth though, as sneaking your way into a good position to kick off a fight, and even getting a brief sneak attack bonus, is a good way to stack the odds in your favour. The stealth elements are really focused around the role-playing side of things. You want to integrate yourself into the Institute, sneak around the place while breaking into areas you're not supposed to go, and hack into all the terminals to gather all intel you can. You should pretend to work with the bad guys while actually working for the Railroad in the shadows. This provides an interesting dual playstyle, where you get to be both the good guy and the bad guy. When you want to do some morally good quests, you can engage with the Railroad, freeing simps and helping people. And when you want to be the bad guy for a while, you can do Institute missions. Though even while you do these, see if you can make any choices throughout which hinder the organisation. Get the quest completed, but whenever you're presented with the opportunity to do things in a specific way, always pick the one which seems worse for the Institute. Given a recall code to use, just say random stuff instead. Told to be stealthy, make sure to go in loud. You still want to get the missions done in order to keep your cover, but you want to purposefully mess them up in some way. When you finally do turn against the Institute, I would recommend going all-out violence, and trying to wipe out as many of them as possible while you leave, to help ensure they can't resurface or enact their master plan. Back before the bombs dropped, the Institute Infiltrator was just a regular guy. He was an intelligent young man and was able to leverage his academic achievements into an engineering job with Poseidon Energy. For several years he worked for the company, feeling mostly content with his work but always having a small amount of underlying unease. He couldn't help but feel it was unfair how the people above him became rich off the work of those below him. He never dared voice these views, however, lest he was deemed a red and lost his job in the process, but this thought still never left his mind about the unfair nature of the world. Despite his reservations, he still strived to be a good and productive member of the workforce, believing still that his efforts benefited the country at large. It was this mentality which encouraged him to engage in military service once the resource wars escalated. He had spent much time at Poseidon Energy working with fusion cores, and his expertise was invaluable at assisting with the implementation of power armor on the front lines. After his service was done, he tried returning to his job, but found that Poseidon Energy had scaled down the number of humans working at the company, instead having started employing robots from Robco. While he was understandably bitter about this for a while, he also saw this as an opportunity. He had studied advanced robotics at college, and felt confident in his chances of getting a job at Robco. As it turned out, there were some positions available right away, and the hiring process was a breeze. Turns out that the reason the hiring process was so easy to get through, and so many positions were waiting to be filled, was because the job was pretty terrible. The actual work involved developing robots in order to replace the jobs of Americans and streamline profits for owners of companies, reducing the overhead costs of having to pay people by investing in robots instead. On top of this, the resentment from the higher-ups to their living employees was tangible. The idea that they were having to pay people rather than just use the machines they were developing always seemed to piss off upper management. Despite all this, he still worked hard at his job, doing his best to ignore the bad parts of it all. That was until he overheard a secret meeting. He had stayed late one night to try and catch up on the ever-increasing workload, and as he was headed to the bathroom, he happened to overhear the executives discussing a terrifying option. Apparently their division wasn't making money quickly enough, with most of their profits estimated to be very long term. In order to come up with a quick infusion of cash, they had started looking into some shady insurance ideas. Through a complicated legal process, there was a potential route they could take, where they would be able to take out life insurance policies on their employees, and in the event of an accidental death on the job, such as robotic malfunction, the company would end up with a sizable payout. The Infiltrator silently snuck away from the conversation and retreated back home. He told his wife about what he had overheard, hoping her experience as a lawyer could present them with an option for what to do. It turns out that simply being a whistleblower wouldn't cut it. The execs could claim it was all lies, and the company had a history of smearing anyone who was vocally outspoken against them. Instead, the couple believed their only option was to slowly build up a case, gathering evidence and hoping to be able to bring things to trial before the bosses could enact their evil plan. And so the Infiltrator returned to work, not only to continue working his job, but also to find solid evidence of what was going on. He would try and download data from terminals and break into the backrooms to find any paper documents, all while trying to avoid detection. All this time, his wife was putting together their court case, and the company was hiring more low-level employees, all with the same life insurance policy. Over the course of several months, the couple were forced to witness several minor workplace incidents, knowing all the time that they were just tests for the one big event. Every time they found some form of data that could potentially implicate the company, the Infiltrator would hack in and download it to a holotape, before returning home and hiding away the data within their robot, Codsworth. Unfortunately, none of this evidence was enough to start a case against such a powerful organisation, and it wasn't until someone finally died from a robotic malfunction that the two of them finally had the evidence they needed to come forward. But in the end, it was too late. The bombs dropped weeks before the first hearing was scheduled to take place, leaving the world in embers. The slow and unbalanced method of following the law had prevented him from doing any good, and it was only by witnessing the end of the world that he realised that those in power can't be removed if you follow the rules that they put in place. Filled with regret, he will enter the wasteland, knowing that if he had taken more decisive action and not been such a slave to society, then he might have achieved his goals and seen some modicum of justice take place. Good news, folks, I'm mostly recovered from my dental surgery, so content should be returning to normal from here on out. If you enjoyed this video, then hit the like button, feel free to leave your thoughts down in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed so you hopefully see more of my videos. including the super secret series I had been planning out last year, but had to delay due to various illnesses and issues. I'm finally at the point I can start working on it again, so look forward to seeing what that is, hopefully coming in the not too distant future. As always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.